I feel like we have like a pretty earthy color scheme.
Today?
Yeah.
You alright? I noticed that when I walked in.
And 5.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Fistful of Colors. Myself, Howell, Reed, and Chase in the studio once again to discuss the hottest grappling event of the summer. The question is, which event is it? Because there's so many of them, right?
No easy choice, absolutely, but variety is a good thing.
It is a good thing. So we've had a couple of big ones go recently, and we got a couple of big ones on the horizon. Who wants to jump in? Who wants to take one of the biggest events that we've seen or about to see?
Well, I feel like for my money, I'm really looking forward to this Kasai coming up here, the Kasai Super Series. We got July 4th, America's birthday. We're gonna be celebrating Kasai. So I think that one's definitely the one that sticks out for me.
First ever grappling event I could think of on 4th of July. That's kind of a bold move. I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Right,
it is a bold
fireworks.
Move, right?
Will be going off in both ways. Multiple.
The bad puns coming out early. Let me save you there. I'm looking forward to Fight to Win 117. We have Kainan Duarte versus Gutenberg in the main event, but that's a fully stacked card as any San Diego event will be. Got Barry Yoshida, Jenna Bishop, and Luisa Montero. So many others fighting on that card. I'm looking forward to Fight to Win as always.
Yeah, the San Diego one. I think it's got something
sick.
like over 20 black belt matches. That's insane.
Because Ronaldo Jr. is making his debut,
which is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So Ronaldo Jr., who just got his black belt at the Podium of Worlds, is going to go up against the veteran from 9-9 Jiu-Jitsu, Sergio Rios. That's a really interesting match, right?
Yeah, it's a great one. I think we've been watching Sergio. He's a veteran of the game. He's been out there for a while now, so it's a good stiff test for a guy like Ronaldo. We know how successful he's been at the brown belt level. It's not quite the same as we know at black belt. It's definitely a step up in competition. So I think it's a great test for Ronaldo, a guy who has a bright future. And that should be a fun match. Sergio has a crazy game, so he always.
You
makes
roll
it
with Sergio, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
how's that?
Yeah, he's very similar to Eduardo in that I didn't know what was going on.
Eduardo Tellez.
Eduardo Tellez.
Yeah.
In that I didn't know what was going on for a lot of the role. But they both those guys, they have some quirks that I'm not quite used to. But
super unorthodox.
A lot of unorthodox techniques, but fun jiu-jitsu nonetheless.
Have either of you ever rolled with Ronaldo Jr.?
Thankfully, no.
Yeah.
He did invite me to train, though. So on the Road to Worlds tour, we stopped by Atos, and I did a little feature on Ronaldo. And afterwards, he was super gracious and appreciative. But he also said, "Oh, I would love to train with you one day." It's like, "Oh man, are you mad at me? Like, am I in trouble?"
It's hard to film. It's hard to film Ronaldo when at the gym because you got to be ready to go from one end of the gym to the other end of the gym and back. Like those guys are he's all over the place.
He is an absolute monster. Yeah, like we said, like something ridiculous, like 20 black belt matches lined up for Fight to Win 117.
But that main event too. That main event, Kainan versus Gutenberg. I mean, hey, it doesn't get much bigger than that.
We've been calling it the
huge.
Kainan era, right? He's made his mark already on the black belt divisions, world champion. So I mean, another world champion, a Fight to Win. That's so cool. So.
Yep. Kainan, has just been on fire out there, and Gutenberg is great. He's a little bit bigger than Kainan. He'll be a little bit have the size advantage for sure, probably. So it's a great test for Kainan. It's a great match.
Going off Kainan's recent performance in Moscow, though, I'd have to say it's probably not going to be that much of a factor because remember, Kainan Duarte, he entered the heavyweight King of Mats in the AJP Tour, the Grand Slam in Moscow, and turned up and in his first match submitted the gigantic, the 250-pounder Joao Gabriel Rocha with a guillotine.
Gotta watch that guillotine for sure.
Yeah, that's match of the year for me right now. I mean, there's a lot of contenders, but that was so crazy because he was down on points. He's being thrown around.
He was getting hucked about, right?
And then just came back and submitted him. It was insane. In a 6-minute match, no less. So pretty awesome.
Yeah, not many people tap out Joao Gabriel. Like, I think I can count 2. And that's like Buchecha and I think Leandro tapped him with a toe hold that time, right?
That's right. Hands.
Almost never see him get submitted. So for Kainan to do that was incredible. But Gutenberg was definitely a really interesting match, and kind of getting more and more involved in this sub-only scene as well, right? Because Gutenberg, he's a previous champion until he lost the belt to Urbeth recently, right? In that main event in Chicago. But Gutenberg, he's had quite a few fight to win appearances now, but Kynan, he only had the one match against Tanner Rice, like fight to win 113, I want to say.
That wasn't so long ago. That was just a week
May.
before
Right
Worlds.
before Worlds.
May, yeah, it was like a week or so before Worlds. Incredible.
Remind me, how did Gutenberg do at Worlds?
I want to say he lost in the quarters.
Lost in the quarters or something?
Man, I can't even remember how that division played
exactly.
out. Put me on the
Super
spot
heavyweight.
here.
Sorry, I can't remember.
Yeah, he did super heavyweight, and I don't remember seeing him on the podium. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just goes to show, I think Gutenberg's struggled a little bit here at black belt to find his footing, and Kynan's kind of gone the exact opposite route and has just stormed on. So, yeah, that'll be a great match. I'm really looking forward to 10 minutes submission only. Both those guys have some good submissions.
Hometown advantage for Kynan now, right? Being in San Diego. That's going to be good because you can see this. It's absolutely loaded with guys from Atos and Alliance and Gracie Maitao. All the big teams are being really well represented and stuff. Got some really interesting matches, like top to bottom on this card, actually. So I think that's definite contender for one of the hottest events of the summer, right?
100%. But I think before we get too far into the future, we should look back at what went down last weekend, because there was a crazy event in Houston, Third Coast Grappling 2, just their second event, and they had like 15 all-star black belt matches. Of course, Nicholas Marigali versus Cyborg being the main event. Marigali getting that sweet loop choke, submitting Cyborg. Oh, Hal, you told me interesting fact. When was the last time Cyborg was submitted? Or it was like 2 times in the last 7 years? Or
exactly.
Something crazy.
He's been submitted twice in like 7 years. That is how tough Cyborg is, I mean, everybody knows that he's one of the best, like, it's a legend, right? It's kind of funny, though, that Cyborg's, can you believe he's never won a black belt world title in the gi?
It is crazy.
It is. I mean, ADCC champion. He's like, I want to say 5-time world no-gi champion. And he's always been right there, but he's never quite managed to get that gold medal in the gi. So for me, it was an incredible step up, that Cyborg took this match on late notice after Keenan got injured. 38 years of age, stepping up against the guy who's just come off winning the world championship by submitting Muhammad Ali in the final. A 2-time world champion, no less. 13 years younger than him. And Cyborg's like, I'll take that match.
Let's go. Let's go.
How gangster is that?
Yeah.
It really is. Because let's be honest, I think the list of people willing to take Marigali on in the gi, it's very, very short, right? Because you kind of know what to expect.
True.
Yeah, he's a tall order for anybody. I mean, I think it's he's the man to beat in that weight class and super heavy and up. So I love watching Marigali fight, but man, there were so many good matches that night, and the rule set was kind of crazy though. I mean, I feel like it pushed the action. They had you could also win by a tech fall style rule, where if you reached 11 points, you would win the match.
But
so
there's a lot of confusion.
So tell me a bit how it played out.
Yeah, because honestly, like, we've spoken to tons of people who watched the event, and they all said to us, "Wow, that was really cool, but what was up with those rules, right?" And let's be honest, a number of the competitors weren't fully aware of the rules either. Like, some made the effort to kind of really figure out what they had to deal with, and others just turned up and were like, whatever, I'll just compete.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite work out, did it, Reed?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think, jiu-jitsu's jiu-jitsu, right? You have to figure out the rules. But they just had a slight difference in the rule set, and I think if most people just kind of understood it, they'd actually like them. I actually like how they do things now. And like you mentioned, the 11-point kind of tech fall rule, which is great. It's basically just first person to 11 points kind of wins. I think it takes out some of the mismatches, maybe if the guy's just way better, or if one guy's just like really difficult to submit, or he's just playing defensive. It makes those points to get, it makes a guard pass that much more kind of,
there's a sense of urgency, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I like that. It made the matches in regulation, you couldn't let the guy score 11 points, because if he scored 11 points, the match was over. So it made those, exactly like you said, made those matches in regulation a little more urgent. But I think a lot of the confusion lied in the overtime rules, because excuse me. Overtime is still something in jiu-jitsu we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out like what's the best way to award somebody the win if there's no submission and if there's no clear winner. That's something I think a lot of people obviously exploring the submission overtime.
There's a bunch of different variations, right?
Yeah,
because you got the
so
classic overtime.
Hard to follow sometimes.
Yeah, the classic overtime everybody thinks of is EBI, and then Kasai have got their golden score, right, which is kind of cool as well. Both very different though. So Third Coast was kind of somewhere in the middle, and I think that's what confused people because basically there was a coin toss, and you could choose the starting position to start the overtime. But it wasn't as simple as choose the back or choose the armbar like in EBI. And you just got one shot, because what happened was you flipped the coin, and whoever won the coin toss, they could either choose the starting position, and that is any position in Jiu-Jitsu without a submission, right? Just any position. Or you could choose top or bottom. So that was the option that whoever won the coin toss had. But then the person who lost the coin toss, they got to choose the other one. So if you chose top, they would choose the position. If I chose the position, you could choose top or bottom. So a few guys, they were like, okay, cool. I won the coin toss, I'll choose top. And the other guy was like, okay, so I'm going to choose close guard and just hold you in there and try, right? But we saw a little bit of a strategic error, right? The Roberto Jimenez fight against Pedro Mourinho, which was an incredible match, I have to say. That is definitely one to go back and to watch because it was incredible. I literally thought that Pedro was going to tear Roberto's head off in some of those guillotine attacks.
Those guillotines were brutal.
What do you have, like 6 or 7 of them?
Yeah, it was like every time Roberto shot, he was just right into those guillotines, and they looked deep. So, crazy one.
So, Roberto wins the coin toss, and he's like, great, I'm going to start in the back. And Pedro literally laughed. Like, literally, awesome, I'm going to start on top. And takes Roberto's back, starts the overtime, gets the choke.
So, we're a little weird to call it top back position. That just sounds odd to me.
I get you.
But I see what you mean, though.
That he gets the dominant position out of that,
exactly.
right? So I think that was the match. That was like midway through the main card. After that point, everybody was very quickly figured out.
Yeah.
Ooh, probably better just to choose guard.
Yeah.
Be a bit more neutral.
Yeah.
Because think about it. You win the coin toss and you choose mount, and the other guy's, okay, I'm going to start on top. It's like, damn it. So definitely a tricky one.
Yeah, but I think it all played out. Like you said, after that match, I think a lot of people kind of really understood what was going on. So then you had people, vying for top and bottom, and vying for sweeps from guard or whatever it would be. So I liked how they ended up kind of doing it. I think it made things a little fair, a little more fair.
Then there was we have to mention as well that in that show, of course, there was the big announcement midway through the card as well, right?
Yeah.
Gordon Ryan comes onto the stage. Of course, he's there to support his girlfriend, Nat Santoro. And
his girlfriend or his sister?
Something like
Nobody knows. Not sure. Only Big Gordon knows.
But he comes onto the stage, and they drop the nuclear bombshell that Gordon Ryan, Felipe Pena 3 is going to take place December 7th on Third Coast Grappling in Houston. I don't think many people expected that, shall we say, right?
100%, and big credit to Felipe for even being willing to take that match. He's got nothing to prove. I mean, he can make Gordon suffer, just sit on those 2 wins forever, and say, meet me in a super fight at ADCC if you want it.
2 years from now,
2 years from now.
Yeah,
but
no, he's a gamer though, right? We had
100%.
Edwin here last week, and he said the same thing. He's like, no man, Felipe loves it. He wants to get in there. He wants to mix it up with Gordon and stuff, and I think let's be honest, right? Felipe's a kind of a quiet guy, He doesn't respond much to the attacks. But you'd have to think that Gordon's just constant shit talking over the last 2 years. It's gotta get under his skin, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Gordon does that pretty well.
He does.
Not only Felipe, but with quite a few people.
Yeah.
So.
Any and all.
Yeah.
But for me, I'll watch that match 100 times. It's definitely an evolving give and take. I feel like Gordon always brings a little bit different puzzle for Felipe to unravel. Right there in ADCC, it was a super close match right until the end where Felipe did that sweet back take. So
kind of makes me wonder though, how's it going to go this time? Because the 2 matches that they had already were both under such different circumstances. The first match was like a 1 hour submission only match, right?
True. Yes.
And then the second match, obviously, this ADCC final, the absolute division, and then this time. Well, we're not even sure what the rules are going to be, whether they're going to stick with the Third Coast Grappling, which is 7 minutes regulation with the tech fall, and then this 5-minute overtime where you get to choose a position, or if they'll come up with a brand new set of rules, who knows, for make a special case for this match. But it's going to be a factor, right?
I would like to see longer than 7 minutes, I think, for those 2 guys. 7 minutes is a fantastic sort of like standardized match time, but we've seen that Gordon and Felipe's matches take a little bit of time to progress, and work through the positions. I would hate to see it cut short and end up in this weird kind of game of overtime.
I'll be honest,
it's
as well,
worth it, right? The longer matches are worth it.
Occasionally.
So. With them too.
And I think the last Kasai Pro event that we had in April, when it was the 205-pound tournament, I think that kind of showed as well that Felipe doesn't do great in shorter matches. Those 6-minute matches, we never really saw him get his game going, right? He didn't look like as good as we know he is. So I think Felipe is one of those guys who needs to warm up a little bit in the match, and the longer matches definitely play in his favor because, well, we saw how that played out, and he didn't do great at Kasai. You know, he actually got submitted by Tex and got his knee hurt really bad. So, you know, I think a longer match definitely favors him. But
interesting point. I hadn't even really thought about that. But either way, definitely hype for the next Third Coast show. I did see on Instagram that they were considering revamping the overtime rules slightly or making some changes, so we'll see how that plays out in general.
I'm sure they got plenty of feedback from the competitors. But speaking of competitors, any matches from the main card that stand out for you, ones that you really enjoyed?
Man, I really liked Wagner Hosha versus Ethan Krellenston. That was a big question mark for me for both guys. You know, Ethan being sort of the young and up and coming no-gi specialist, also takes a lot from Wagner's game. You know, he uses a lot of the float passing, a lot of the Kimura traps himself. So Wagner, I want to see how he dealt with like the younger version of himself. And man, he just kind of smoked him. If I'm being completely honest, I felt like he was in total control.
Do you really think he smoked him? Wow.
Yeah, I think he did. He passed his guard one time cleanly. Had a couple near other passes. The leg lock attacks from Ethan were present, but Wagner never really got touched by them truly. So I thought it was a really strong showing from Wagner. You know, Ethan looked great, and he's got a lot of years left, so I think he will be a dominant force. He's qualified for ADCC. You know, there's nothing taking away nothing from Ethan. He's an amazing athlete, but I was really impressed with the way Wagner handled that match.
How about you, Reed?
Man, I think, jiu-jitsu, we all know about, what's going on the East Coast. We all know what's going on in the West Coast. You know, these big hubs in jiu-jitsu, but I was glad to see that the Texas talent, the third coast talent, came out and showed up and I think blew a lot of people away. Specifically guys like William Tackett and Cody Steele. I thought put great performances on. That Cody Steele versus DJ Jackson match was definitely one of the highlights of the night for me.
That was a wild match.
That was just a crazy, crazy match, and it was like one of the most grueling looking matches. And then you had the whole Gracie Baja contingent over there. They have such a huge contingent, Jessa Sintra and Ignacio Neto and Lucas Valente. So I think it's cool. It's and like I said, William Tackett, Cody Steele, like a lot of these guys, they're not just good Texas talent. These guys are talent that is rising, on the national, on the world level. William especially, I think.
Stack up against anybody, right?
Yeah. Mike Perez, I think that was a sick match. He's a OG.
I was going to say that.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
You got me.
No, it's Hibamar's in there too.
Hibamar, yeah. So a lot of Texas guys. So I thought that was cool.
A lot of people forget that Perez is from Texas, right? Because he's been bouncing around for the last couple of years. Obviously, he was with Lloyd Irvin for a long time on the East Coast, and then he's been in San Diego for the longest time now. It's like 6 years or something. But yeah, Texas, born and bred, right? Yeah. From Katy? No. He's from
Katy.
He is? Yeah. So he's from right there next to Houston. And that guillotine.
Jordan Holly, I mentioned.
That guillotine that Perez slapped on Travis Moore was savage, right? What was it, like 30 seconds?
45, I think, is what it ended up being, something like that. But
take your time, Mike. But that was slick. And I got to say, the one thing about Perez that really, really surprised me as well is that, we've seen him compete at like 99 kilogram division in ADCC 2017, right? And Perez always goes up against like bigger guys in his matches. And he was actually scheduled to face Jackson Souza, right? And Jackson had to pull out because he got injured, and so they had Travis Moore, a late replacement instead. And Travis is a big dude, probably a good 200-pound plus. And I saw Perez, and the first thing I said to him was, "Damn, dude, you look skinny." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm walking around like 175 right now."
Well, he did over 99 at 2017 ADCC, right? Or maybe just 99?
99.
99, sorry.
And the absolute.
Yeah. So he did 99 kilos at ADCC 2017.
He's a gamer.
Which is 218 pounds for those out there.
Yeah. He doesn't weigh that much.
But he's walking around 175, but he's in the under 99 kilogram at ADCC, right?
I think he's in 88, wasn't he?
No, because you got Hulk and Hinger in at 88, so I'm pretty sure that Perez is doing 99. Because
I have to double check that.
Yeah,
77.
No way.
No.
Well, again, you got you got JT in at 77, so
Sure,
I think that Perez has gone up, but I could be wrong.
Either way, Third Coast was a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun watching those matches from home. I was jealous you guys got to go, but I was also on the couch, which wasn't so bad. But a few of those guys are coming back right away. Wagner and both Craig Jones are coming to Kasai on July 4th with some tough matches there. Craig is taking on Tex Johnson, and Wagner is going to face. Remind me, who's Wagner taking on?
He's actually
Celcino
Vinicius. Right. So yeah, switching gears. Kasai Super Series coming up next week, July 4th. I'm really excited to this. Reed and I are heading out to Florida for this. And the main event itself is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. Dante Leon against Renato Canuto. That's a match that I think that Dante has earned, right? Can we say that's a fair thing to say?
A couple big wins at Kasai in the past, absolutely.
Yeah,
submissions
I totally agree.
Submissions over Mateus Lutz and Edwin Najmi in his last couple super fights. That's if anybody has earned the right to challenge Renato, and it isn't a title match. This is just to challenge the guy who's the guy, right? Renato is a 2-time Kasai tournament champion, and he's won a bunch of super fights as well. So he actually has the record for the most wins in Kasai.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Most appearances and the most wins.
Doesn't surprise me.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Renato, I think, is the face of Kasai, so it's definitely like, Dante's coming in trying to dethrone him, but I definitely do agree that he's the number one contender type of guy, if you will. And what I love most about this match is, man, like both these guys, I think can't be in a boring fight. Like, I've never really seen either of them. Both of them, are very different. But exciting in different ways, and I think when these two guys collide, it's got fireworks
there it
written
is.
all over it.
Once more.
How many of these puns are you gonna fit in today? Yeah, I'm absolutely hyped. I couldn't agree more that both are extremely athletic and competitive. I'm looking forward to see how Hanato's counterfighting kind of factors into Dante's forward pressure. That's all we see from Dante, and which I love. So,
I mean, Dante's a powerhouse, right? We know that. He's small but extremely strong, and
I would not call that man small, but that's
well, he's not like a 250-pound monster, but he lifts that kind of weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the videos of him on the site of him lifting like freaking 450, 500 pounds or something, and he's just an absolute monster. Renato is he's so elusive, right?
Cat-like.
Yeah, he really is. He's like, just his mobility and his agility, just phenomenal. But it's interesting. I mentioned that Renato's got 11 matches in Kasai, right? 8 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. And that 1 loss, just a decision. I think it was via penalty point against Eddie Cummings, right? I would say penalty point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
The person with the second most number of Kasai matches is Craig Jones. Craig Jones, who's facing Tex Johnson, also on the main card, and he's got 10 Kasai matches, 6 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. Craig versus Tex. What do we think?
It's a crazy match. It's also a rematch. They fought at EBI 14 back at the end of 2017, and Craig's breakout year where he submitted everyone with inside heel hooks in like 30 seconds. It was a crazy campaign.
But Craig beat him.
Yeah, Craig submitted Tex. It was an awesome submission. But both guys' games have evolved a lot since then. You watch Craig now, and he's playing a lot more wrestling, a lot more. He's trying to play his top game more. And Tex has just refined his leg locks to a point where he's submitted Felipe Pena. He became, I think, maybe the quickest ever ADCC Trials winner with a total match time of 3 minutes, with 4 wins or something like that. So
I think it was actually 5 wins.
5 wins, exactly.
So crazy.
2 different kinds of athletes. I feel like I don't know what to expect. I'm trying to write this preview article right now. I'm like, man, what am I going to look for?
I have a prediction.
Okay.
I think somebody's going home with a limp.
Yeah. I think this is definitely a classic like style versus style matchup. This is a great match, I think, for both guys to show off what they're good at. Both guys have great leg locks. Craig trains with Danaher, and we've obviously seen what Tex is capable of. He's capable of some scary stuff. With those leg locks. He can break limbs at any moment. So I think that when we saw Craig versus Mateus, like you said this past weekend in Houston, it was primarily a wrestling match, right? Primarily a wrestling match between him and Mateus, and I don't think we're not going to see that at Kasai. Both these guys, I think, are going to want to get to their games. Tex doesn't usually wrestle too much. I think Craig will probably be fine with that, and they'll probably try to get into some of those leg entanglements and try to take a leg home.
Absolutely.
It's a toss up to who who can do it. You know, Tex has been surging. Craig probably on paper is a little stronger, has a stronger resume. But you know, when you got a guy like Tex yanking on your knees and stuff, anything can happen.
It's interesting to see like the kind of the collision of the leg lock games, right? Because originally Craig came out of Absolute MMA and doing a lot of work with Lachlan Giles, but he's been traveling the world so much the last couple of years, and he's been spending a lot of time with Danaher, right? And Tex, obviously, he up until very recently, he'd been at Unity for a few years, and over the last year and a half, I guess, he'd been training very, very intensively and learning all the intricate setups and entries from Eddie Cummings. Again, you know, originally one of the members of the Danaher Death Squad. So it's kind of a collision, isn't it? It's like, you know, the systems are all of a sudden they're coming together.
Systems unite.
So Texas Eddie told him all the secrets.
Guess
He's
so.
got all the secrets from
well,
the
we saw a jump up in Texas leg lock game, right? I think that's fit. When Eddie moved over to Unity,
which was in September. I remember we put the article on September, and then the ADCC trials was in November, which is when Tex leg locked everyone basically, and then of course Felipe was in January or February. April, sometime in spring.
This year. So you're right. There was a definite, you know, Tex had always been known one of those guys. You never let him grab your legs, right? We saw him smash on that nasty straight ankle against Jackson Souza at Nogi Pans last September, right? And he also like the thing about Tex is being such a big guy. It always surprised me about how good he is from bottom, because training with a lot of lighter guys in Unity who are really good at playing the Berimbolo game and inversions and stuff, like he was so good at getting underneath his opponents.
He's got crazy legs. He's super flexible, and
guard guy.
In the gi, he does a lot of those tornado sweep style setups too, where he also inverts back to a triangle. You know, Texas got a pretty agile guard for a big guy. So actually, I think I see him opening up that game a little bit, and Craig looking to pass. That's my prediction for the match. I think Craig's been working the passing game. And
didn't expect to see Craig wrestle with Mateus Deniz either, right?
He looked good though. He looked like he'd been working on it. He looked like he definitely unveiled some new tricks, I think.
He had that Gordon-style foot sweep thing going on, right? Remember? Gordon was using that at ACC 2017 to pick up the single leg. That was really cool. So, interesting. And then, what else we got on Kasai? Well, I mean, we got a ton, man. Mateus Lutz is back. Took a little time off, injured his knee a couple of months ago, but he's back, and he's got a match against that baby monster, Valdir Araújo, the guy from Fight Sports, the dark horse who came into the Kasai Pro 5 tournament not so long ago.
Same term as Tex. He was a tough guy in that event. He didn't have a lot of success, but man, he was impossible to do anything to.
Rock solid, right?
I know a lot of the Fight Sports guys say, you know, kind of just wait to see this guy kind of open up.
Yeah, right. And then I like this match as well. I want to highlight this one. Man Shakira, a.k.a. Munchie, is going to go up against Enrico Coco. That's a really, really interesting match. And Enrico Coco, obviously a South Florida guy, great no-gi specialist, multiple-time ADCC veteran. Munchie, again, also an ADCC veteran. Both Kasai Pro tournament veterans as well. They competed in the first ever Kasai Pro, but they were opposite groups and they didn't face each other. So it's the first time they're ever competing. Not interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun match. I love watching both guys compete, especially Enrico Coco. I feel like he's so slick. Maybe brings a lot of unorthodox looks to the table and just lays it all on the line. He's a great pro show kind of fighter.
Yeah, he's got a fun style. I totally agree. I like watching his style of grappling. It's fun.
And Munchie's been having a lot of success in all kinds of areas of martial arts. I saw him win a kickboxing match
it seems like he's
early this year. He's pursuing the MMA stuff as well.
Yeah, he's moving that direction.
2 or 3 kickboxing matches now, I think. I think he's like 3-0 or something.
Dipping his toes, yeah. So,
but you know what I think is cool about this Kasai is they got a lot of those South Florida MMA fighters on there. You know, I've always been a big MMA fan, so it's cool to see some of those names that train out of the American Top Team or Black Saints old team. You know, I know you got Jay-Z Cavalcante, Gleison Tebow on there. I was really excited to see Charles Oliveira on there. He's somebody who's always had some of the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC. I think
John Lineker is also on the card.
John Lineker, which is a crazy guy to have in there. So I like that they went out and they went after those MMA fighters from the area. I think that's MMA versus jiu-jitsu, always an interesting battle. So I'm glad to see some of those guys come out there, put it on the line.
Yeah, it's Boogie versus Gleison Tebow, which is a crazy match.
It's a crazy match.
Absolutely crazy.
Shout out Rich Martinez. Yeah, man, that's great. I like seeing Richie in action as well because he has such that unorthodox creative submission game. You never know what he's going to do, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Hit that spectacular armbar at Kasai Pro 2, I believe, in the 185-pound tournament. That's one of the baddest ass submissions I've ever seen.
He had one of my favorite matches from West Coast Trials too. He's always in fun matches.
Yeah, he definitely lays on the line.
Yeah, and then 2 days later, there's actually an event. Don't want to sleep on this one either. We've got Jits King Tampa. It's the first Jits King event. It's taking place in Tampa, Florida, just 2 days after the Kasai Pro. It's on July 6th. And man, this is kind of an interesting. This is like a strong local event in the Florida scene. But you got some big names coming in to compete on this. Notably, three ADCC trials winners. You've got John Combs, who won 77 kilogram at the ADCC West Coast Trials. He's going up against Dan Martinez in the main event.
I believe he got bronze at, or maybe silver or bronze at East Coast Trials.
That's right. Nick Rodriguez, the man mountain himself, the over 99 kilogram West Coast Trials winner, has got a match against Jason Reyes. Jason Reyes, he's a Fight Sports guy, is that right? Or, no, wait, Henzo.
I'm not sure, to be honest. No.
Damn it. Oh, I could be mistaken. But I do know that he's jacked as well. So
two jack guys going at it.
Two jack guys. Gotta be like that. And then we got a rematch, actually, because Amanda Levy, who won the over 60 kilogram West Coast Trials, she did that by beating Maggie Grandati, the brown belt from Fight Sports. And they're going to rematch right here on Jits King. So I think that's really interesting because, Maggie obviously is fighting out at Cyborg's gym, Fight Sports in Miami. Mm-hmm. And she'll obviously want to roll that back because remember, Amanda hit that kind of like is that one of those ones when you're in the clinch and you kind of drop back into the guard, but you slap the armbar on at the exact same time? Yeah, really, really nice submission.
There's also a pretty sweet 16-man, 165-pound tournament at that same event. It's got Enrico Coco's back on the card. William Tackett's on there. A bunch of great guys from Florida as well. So really excited to see a brand new event kind of bringing it to the table. Some fun stuff there.
It's interesting because that 165-pound tournament, it's a mix. It's purple, brown, and black belt together. And we were talking about this, I was talking about this a lot in the gym actually last week with one of my training partners. And we were talking about the difference between gi and no gi and about how, a purple belt can actually have a lot of success against a black belt in a no gi scenario. But you rarely see that in the gi, right? The definitions between the belt, they seem to just fall away in the no gi, right? I mean, look at a guy like Matthias Lutz. He's a brown belt. He's a world-class brown belt, and he goes head-to-head with some of the best black belts in the world. And it's not unusual to see a really good purple belt in no-gi go up against a solid black belt and actually do really well, right?
I think it's just the opportunity to do so. Like at Spider, for example, where we see, I think, one of the only tournaments that allows mixed colored belts or mixed belts in a gi level.
Purple, brown, and black together,
there are some
right?
winners at the brown belt level. We saw Jonathan Alves beat Paulo Miao and Jamil, both black belts, and he was a brown belt at the time. So I think the degrees between, pro grapplers, professional grapplers, gi and no gi, is so small, And I think if guys in the gi were given more opportunities to hone their game against black belts in the gi, they might win more. But because that's so slim, I think experience wins out more of the time.
I want to give a shout out as well to Victor Doria, who's watching on our live stream. He actually just giving me the heads up that yes, Jason is from Fight Sports. So thank you, Victor. I appreciate you letting me know.
He had a big win over at Third Coast, right?
That was sick.
Yeah, man. Him and Raul had a great match there.
It was awesome.
I really enjoyed that.
The whole Fight Sports contingent out there.
Man, there's so many of them, right?
Group out there, and they all went after it.
They always bring the squad, man. They're fun guys.
There was Victor, Durino, Wagner, and Cyborg, and they were all competing together. That was pretty cool to see. Yeah. Shout out! I'm looking forward to hitting up Kasai as well because the Fight Sports guy is going to be out for that too. So they always bring a great energy when they compete, right?
Anyone seen Cyborg riding through the desert in Egypt by the pyramids?
Horseback,
so badass.
That was insane. Yeah,
he's in Egypt right now.
Yeah.
Wow, what a man! Damn, that guy has such cool life.
I do agree that it is crazy. Like looking at that Jits King 16-man bracket or whatever. Like to me, I feel like you got to get William Tackett as like the favorite.
What?
Or one of the favorites.
It's a bold statement.
And he's a purple belt. And going up against black belts. Well, I mean,
I know you're hot on William. Why? What's the big deal about William? For those who don't know.
Well, I mean, I've just seen him a lot recently. He had a great performance especially no-gi. I've been watching him a little bit. I remember first seeing him beat Heron Gracie in like Worlds or something, the absolute division, right? Heron was way bigger than him, a juvenile blue belt, and I remember catching him there. And since, he, especially at Nogi, he's just excelled. He had a great showing at the East Coast trials. Then he came back, had a great showing at the West Coast trials. And this is why I say he's one of the favorites of this tournament, because I envision Enrico Coco being one of the favorites in that tournament. But then I say that because William Tackett's already beat Enrico Coco. So he already holds a win over him.
When did that happen?
At West Coast trials.
Wow, that's right. I completely blanked on that one.
He beat him,
That's incredible.
And then Enrico dropped down to the third place match. He ended up winning the third place match.
So with this, remind me now, but William hit the podium on both East and West Coast trials, or?
East Coast is escaping me.
I think he might have gotten bronze on the East Coast trials.
Bronze East Coast.
Damn. It's something special,
right?
Huh?
So yeah, and he's young, 17 years old. He went up against a brown belt at Third Coast.
Right.
Submitted him what looked like fairly easily. So yeah, I'm definitely high on that guy. And not to disrespect any of the brown or black belts on that Jits King thing, but man, the purple belt is surging.
Yeah, it is. Wow, that's impressive. So
and I would love to see Enrico versus William round 2. That would be a great match.
It was a really close match the first time around.
Yeah.
We should hit those guys up, right? They're right here in Austin. Brazilian Fight Factory.
They've been inviting Reed and I to train, and I've been ducking them as much as possible. I'm like, oh man, I don't know, out of town right now. As I sit here in the office.
But they have got some good guys, right?
Because we got to make it happen.
Cody Steele's up there, and I believe Jordan Holley. He's up there as well, or Jordan Holley.
I think I've seen them training together.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he trains there full time, but I believe they do train together. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, pretty powerful squad up there. We should definitely try and swing by.
Yep.
So
I live in South Austin. I live in North Austin, and might as
almost
well be
different states.
Might as well be a different state.
Super far. Super far.
It is a long way. Awesome. Well, what else we got coming up? Of course, there's the summer is pretty stacked. We got this Subversive event coming up as well, right? Subversive 2, which is kind of being produced by the Fight to Win guys. We saw the last one. Oh, that was like last September, I want to say, right? Yeah, last September in LA. And you guys went along to that one. So just explain exactly what Subversive is, because it's a little bit different to some events that maybe people are familiar with, right?
It's a team event. It's last time they had 4 teams. 10th Planet was in there. Carlson Gracie was in there.
TLI.
Team Lord Irvin was in there. So they had 4 teams, and they battled it out basically. Kind of a semifinal and final scenario. And man, I think team. We all know how important teams are in jiu-jitsu, or maybe you have an opinion on that if you're keen in. But teams are a big thing in jiu-jitsu, and anytime we can kind of get grapplers, like a dual meet in wrestling type of idea. I think that's a fun idea.
I think at Subversive 2 coming up, they're loosening the team concept slightly. Last time was actual members from 10th Planet, actual members from TLI. Now it's, I want to say, like professional teams, like teams that are sponsored.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, a coffee team.
They do have
CBD
10th Planet.
Team.
There is 10th Planet is competing, and
they bring in. So it's a mix.
Yeah, they bring in Gio, and they got Richie, and Kyle Bohm is back, and Elvira Karppinen, who had that breakout. She's the Finnish grappler who
from ADCC
beat Mackenzie Dern at the 2017 ADCC. But yeah, you're right. For example, there's the Red Bowie team. I believe they're a CBD company, sponsoring a lot of athletes now. So they've hustled together. Look, check out this team, Red Bowie team. Joao Miao, DJ Jackson, Ronaldo Jr., Gustavo Batista, and Luisa Montero.
I mean, it's a savage team.
That's a tough team.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, right? But that's cool because it's Unity, Stroke Cicero Costa, TLI, and Atos all kind of together. So I like that one. And it is just, I believe it is just 2 teams this time. Whereas the last Subversive event, it was 4 teams, right? Okay. You had, who did you have? You had TLI, 10th Planet, Carlson Gracie, and CSW. That's right, CSW.
Yeah.
And this time it's just the 2 teams. It's Red Bowie versus 10th Planet, and then just an absolute stacked undercard as well. You got guys like Kevin Casey's going to compete on there, and a lot of Victor Silverio and Kawan Barboza, Thomas Keenan. So it's a lot of really, really solid talent from that area.
Nice. I love team stuff. I'm a little bit on the fence about pro teams. I feel like it just becomes a series of super fights of really good guys, and the team element sort of drops off a little bit.
What's wrong with that?
I mean, I'm not upset by it, but like I love the idea of people representing their flag. You know, like these are the guys I train with every day, going head to head with another group of guys that train together every day.
No, fair point. And we're seeing a lot more of these team events now as well, because I think actually you just mentioned exactly what Quintet kind of got a lot of heat for, right? Because Quintet's 5 versus 5, that whole kind of winner stays on vibe, but they weren't traditional teams per se, right? They were kind of like, how do you want to, I don't know, like super groups, right?
Yeah,
it was kind of like
teams. I don't know, but I love Quintet though.
But you know what I mean? It was like Alpha Male had like Gordon in it from here, and this guy from there.
Who had never trained at Alpha Male. Like Gordon never trained at Alpha Male.
Yeah,
I want to say maybe they met at like Muscle Farm or something, or hung out. But
honestly, though, I'll put my hand up. I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. I actually think it's awesome because sometimes teams are really well represented at certain weight classes, and they just don't have anybody at, let's say, 200 pounds or above, right? And I think if you want to put together a solid squad, then by maybe like a kind of a brand, bringing together some athletes that they all sponsor, I think that's awesome. And I think it opens up the possibility of seeing some really intriguing matches that we wouldn't necessarily otherwise get. But we'll see how it plays out. Subversive 2 is coming up on when is that coming up? Soon.
Mid-July, I want to say.
Yes.
To put a specific date on it.
July 13th. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Yes, there it is.
Smack
July 13th. And it's going to be live on FloGrappling.com, as is usually the case.
Yeah, so we kind of wrapped up a little bit the IBJJF season, but just when you think that there's a lull in the action, we got a packed summer. Huge events.
And American Nationals is happening right now as we speak. You guys can tune in at this very moment and watch American Nationals today, tomorrow, and Saturday. The first quasi-large IBJJF event of since Worlds. So some good names in there for sure.
The new season.
We could see a really interesting match actually, because this Marcio Andre and Kennedy Maciel are signed up. Excuse me. They both signed up in the featherweight division, but I've got an exclusive I can drop right here on air, because if that doesn't happen at American Nationals this weekend, it has just been announced. July 20th, Fight to Win 118 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have got Kennedy Maciel versus Marcio Andre in the main event.
Oh, there we go.
Boom.
Nice. Great match.
There we go. And
where is it?
Minneapolis.
Random for those two guys to go out there, but I love it. It's
great. Yeah, it's awesome. It actually is great.
Pack them.
Yeah, that's a really intriguing match. Kennedy, of course, has had this really interesting year, right? He was a bit of a roller coaster. He had some bad results. He had some great results.
Same with Marcio Andre, really. Yeah.
Both guys have been up and down. So maybe this is kind of who can get started, who can get on a roll. It's a lot on the line.
Never seen Kennedy submission only either. We've seen Marcio do Fight to Win before, right?
He's done a couple times.
Yeah, he's done a couple now, right? He had a good match. Excuse me. He had a good match in, I think it was January this year, when he actually faced Mateus Gabriel, and that was an amazing match. It was really, really good. It was like flying submission attempts and all sorts. But then of course Mateus came out of nowhere, and
and then they had the rematch
in the World Championship finals. Yeah. So let's see. Should be a lot of fun. Oh, guys, it's been interesting. It definitely feels like we're going into no-gi season, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting so excited, man, on Instagram, seeing everyone get ready for ADCC. JT Torres just working out hard. Orlando Sanchez just tossing around people. It's the vibe is coming. I'm already excited.
A lot of these guys have already started their training camps. I know that Josh Hinger he was telling me that they started their ADCC camp, him and Andre Galvao, July 1st.
Sweet.
July 1st. That is like all of July, all of August, and majority of September as well. It's a long ass camp. Big question over Gordon though, right? Because I spoke to him at Third Coast Grappling just after the announcement of him and Felipe, and I don't want to say that he cast doubts on his participation, but he was very frank about, listen, I may not be able to do any of it. I may not be able to do the Heavyweight Grand Prix in August. I may not be able to do ADCC. I may not be able to do Felipe. Everything depends on if I can do a real camp with my knee. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I'd like
we're all praying over here.
Crossing my fingers on a shamrock, touching wood at the same time, doing everything I possibly can.
Oh, it would be a real detriment if Gordon wasn't in there. Of course, he's a champion from 2017. So, yeah, wishing him a speedy recovery and hopefully that he'll be back.
Speaking of Josh Hinger, he just popped on the live stream right at the end. You're too late, Josh. Unfortunately, you're going to miss it because we're about to wrap up the show. We already talked about you. We're not going to talk about you anymore. So,
well, Josh is a big, famous podcaster now, so he's got to.
Ooh, I like that show though. It's fun.
Yeah, no, bad, man. It's awesome. It's been fun.
Yeah, that is true. Awesome. Well, guys, it's been a lot of fun. And should we go trade some nogi?
Nah. I like my pajamas.
Leave that to the pros. Oh, speaking of pajamas, guys, check it out if you haven't already, because Chase just put up an awesome video with Edwin Najmi, right?
Yeah, just dropped another episode of Fix My Game. We talked about it a little bit last week when Edwin was on the show, but it's basically a private lesson with Edwin where we roll around a little bit and then discuss technique and how he can fix some of the things that I do that are bad, and also maybe how I can adopt some of the things that Edwin's really good at. So we spent a lot of time on Darce chokes, which I'm pretty sure he finished me like 30 times with the Darce. The steam lock was another area of focus, so a lot of good stuff in there. If you guys haven't seen it, it's like 30 minutes of just pure jiu-jitsu goodness.
Man, I gotta say, those steam lock details were...
I've already finished a couple guys in the gym with it, and I never tap people, so it works. It definitely works. Sorry, Tony. I just name dropped him a little bit. My bad.
Awesome. Well, guys, perfect time to put an end to this. No show next week because we're going to be in Florida July 4th for Kasai Super Series. Should be a lot of fun, but we'll be back
See you there.
very soon with another episode of Fistful of Collars. Peace.